As games iterate on ideas from the past, improving and polishing them into something new, if not necessarily better, we often lose certain mechanics along the way. They may reappear from time to time in different forms, but we wouldn't mind seeing some of these ideas return in all of their glory. Let's take a look at 10 of them here. Physics-based weaponry, Half-Life 2. Remember the gravity gun in Half-Life 2? Manipulating objects like saw blades and exploding barrels to kill foes was always a treat. However, it also helped to make cover during gunfights or for clearing away obstacles. In terms of physics-based gameplay, there was nothing quite like it. The portal gun from the Portal series is another great example, as you have to use momentum and ingenuity to solve puzzles. Several years later, there are a number of big-name games that incorporate physics. Remedy's Control sees protagonist Jesse holding and throwing objects at foes. Even The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has some fairly strong physics manipulation. That being said, we're still waiting for that next big leap forward. Interrogation System, LA Noire. While games like Her Story had a way about judging expressions, gathering evidence, and finding the truth, there hasn't been a lot of titles with the in-depth interrogation system that LA Noire offered. As an investigator, you visited crime scenes and questioned subjects. Sounds easy, right? Well, not quite. Questioning suspects gave 3 options: truth, doubt, and lie. Depending on the evidence at hand, facial expressions, and little gestures, you had to learn the truth from a potential perp. Gathering evidence, interviewing witnesses, and so on make that system that much more interesting. Complex dialogue trees, Fallout, Baldur's Gate. To make this clear, there are a number of CRPGs like Pathfinder Kingmaker, Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, and so on that have complex dialogue trees. Dialogue and conversations often leverage your stats like charisma, your alignment, lawful, neutral, chaotic, etc., and past decisions. BioWare had a similar system in games like Mass Effect, and of course, we've seen Fallout 3 incorporate the same. More mainstream, modern RPGs have avoided this, however, with Fallout 4 streamlining its dialogue trees. Far Harbor brought some semblance of skill checks back at least. Then there's Anthem. The less said about Anthem, the better. Fixed camera angles for survival horror, Resident Evil series. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard and Resident Evil 2 2019 are both excellent survival horror games, do not get us wrong. But there's just something delightfully terrifying and obtuse about the fixed camera angles that the older games had. Not knowing what's around the corner, or even which side a threat could be coming from, and how these lent to the game's storytelling made them cool. We understand why they inevitably phased out. Controls could be problematic, and there are more benefits to having a free perspective. Still, even if it's only for nostalgia, we'd love to see fixed camera angles make a return someday. Simulants, Perfect Dark. Perfect Dark was coming off of the already incredible multiplayer experience of GoldenEye 007, but Rare took it to a whole other level. There are 6 scenarios and 16 maps. Up to 4 players could participate, but you could also have up to 8 simulants or AI bots in a match. These simulants have their own difficulty settings, ranging from Meat Sim, the easiest, to the Perfect Sim and Dark Sim. They also had personalities, like Feud Sims that would constantly pursue the same enemy over and over, Peace Sims that would hoard all of the guns in a level to keep players from shooting each other, and so on. On top of highly customizing Sims and being able to issue orders to them, you also had 30 different challenges that require specific objectives to complete. Such in-depth bot customization and personality is missing in a number of FPS games with offline multiplayer. Counter-operative mode, Perfect Dark. For that matter, another feature from Perfect Dark that should return is the counter-operative mode. This is essentially a 2-player mode that saw one person playing as Joanna Dark, while the second played as the enemies. Granted, the latter had less health, but it was possible to take control of any enemy, and you would respawn as other enemies if killed by Joanna. Several games have some version of this mode, like Fable Legends before it was axed. For the most part, today's trends lean more towards invading other players' instances and generally being a nuisance, like in the upcoming Doom Eternal, which lets players invade a campaign as demons. Still, there's something to be said about counter-operative mode, especially when it was split-screen and possible on the Nintendo 64. Hot Swap, Battlefield 2 Modern Combat. Battlefield 2 Modern Combat received a fair amount of praise at the time for its multiplayer, whether it was classes, map design, squads, or sheer scale of the conflicts. However, its campaign sported a very cool feature called Hot Swap. This allowed you to switch to any friendly soldier within your line of sight. The missions are designed to encourage hot swapping, since you can't pick up other weapons and kits, whether it's swapping to a sniper for long-range kills or blowing up tanks as the engineer. Just imagine how much more tactical a shooter campaign would be with hot swapping these days. While Battlefield 1 technically has an instance of hot swapping in its prologue mission, it only occurs when your given soldier is killed and automatically switches to another, which is predetermined and can't be changed. Crash Mode – Burnout Revenge. Before Burnout Paradise offered a large racing playground that was incredibly fun in its own right, there was Burnout Revenge and its Crash Mode. Crash Mode was about driving recklessly onto a highway and watching the carnage pile up. If you caused enough damage to meet the crash damage criteria, you received either a bronze, silver, or gold medal. Along with crash breakers, there was a target car that you could hit to cause more damage when it crashed. It was simple but fun, taking Burnout's high-speed crashes and mayhem to the next logical level. While other games like Dangerous Driving and Danger Zone have attempted to mirror that same crash style of racing, nothing beats Burnout Revenge. Cheat codes. Remember the good old days of cheat codes? Big heads, infinite health, invulnerability, infinite lives, crazy weapons, new skins, the list just goes on. Many games did them, and some cheat codes have been immortalized in pop culture like the Konami code. Over the years, however, cheat codes have become rare. Some titles like Grand Theft Auto V and Red Dead Redemption 2 still have them, though the latter requires actually discovering them. Other games like Rage 2 let you purchase them from a special NPC, but also serves to monetize a few. Will we ever have cheat codes running rampant again, just hidden and waiting to be discovered in games? Well, probably not, but at least we have the memories. ZANDATSU – Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance had a combat system called Blade Mode, which caused time to slow down and allowed for precision sword cuts. ZANDATSU took this further, with red squares appearing over an enemy's vital points, cut these and expose the cyborg's fuel cells and extract them to recover health. You could chain multiple together and even use the extraction animation for a short period of invincibility. While Platinum Games' recent Astral Chain has some manner of blade mode for cutting different obstacles and a way to finish off foes for gene code and health, it's not quite the same. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.